This doesn't look like IPCA.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Good. A great day, isn't it?
Well, you look a lot older than I thought you were.
Okay. Most people say I look younger.
It looked like very official. No. Well, I don't know. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Cool. You need some work on your camera, haven't you?
By me?
Yeah.
I tape record everything.
What's that?
I can't afford not to tape record everything.
Okay.
Because every time I have a conversation with somebody, it's lies, innuendos, speculation, manufacture. And that's not fair on me. It's like I'm caught in the biggest criminally blackmailing, holding to ransom situation that anybody can be caught in. I've been through just about every malicious, criminal, abusive, violent act that anybody can be put through. So I don't know exactly where you're coming from.
I'm here at your request.
Right, but no, I was here for the IPCA, but you're police, so I don't know how the liaising with the police, and 10 years later, after all the crimes have already been committed, from Detective Shane Page declaring it an act of war, to my finding out of secret meetings of Parliament, to no information being handed over, to my being put in custody, to my being pepper sprayed in a prison cell, in a jail cell at the courts, to my being threatened, intimidated, bullied, abused. I can't sit down, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Because I got a spinal cord.
Right, okay.
I wish I could, believe me.
Yeah, okay.
But you can sit down.
Oh, thank you.
So, and I'll try and sit. But it's like, I don't think anybody has any realization of what ACC's done to my life.
Right.
I don't think anybody has any realization of all the violence came from Gerard McGreevy. All the threats, the intimidation, the abuse, the harassment, the criminal harassment. Before he left ACC, just before the High Court trial, he destroyed all the information in relation to ACC. 2009, just before the malicious criminal prosecution over fraud and use of a medical certificate, my doctor committed suicide.
Your doctor committed suicide?
The day that the trial was supposed to begin, he committed suicide. So the trial was put off for another 4 months. But all my medical notes and all my medical files have disappeared. So, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter's in there and she's sick, so
oh, okay.
I have to...
How old is your daughter?
She's 11 coming.
Okay.
So, this is just... It's really, really, really gotten out of hand. It's, I mean, I don't really know how to resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. It's like you have a detective who declares it an act of war against you, and all the actions prove that. So, where do you go from there? You can make all the complaints that you like. You're not getting any meetings. You're the first meeting I've had in 10 years.
Okay.
The first. ACC's just shut up shop. The Ombudsman's office shut up shop. The Privacy Commission shut up shop. The IPCA, I mean, so this is the first. But you have 17 years of complaints to the IPCA.
Is this from you to the IPCA?
17 years of complaints.
Right.
In relation to different officers. I got attacked in the back of a police car when I called them to pick me up because I didn't go to court. And I literally rang Shane Page to pick me up, and he says, "Oh, we'll do it when we want to," sort of thing. 3 days later, he picks me up, and the officer who was driving the car was nice enough to go back and get me my medication because I didn't take my medication that day. Medication for pain.
Yes.
Right? And as soon as he walked into the house, I opened the back door of the car because I just wanted to have a quick smoke. And this officer that was sitting beside me jumped on top of me and pushed my head right down. I haven't been able to drive my car hardly ever since. I've got a neck injury as it is, and it exacerbated it. Mm-hmm. I've never had treatment for it. I've never had it looked into. You know what I mean? I've been literally left laying on the floor for all that time. And it's pretty bloody hard. It's like everything is intimidation, everything is harassment, everything is criminal harassment. But after the High Court trial, Shane Page, he comes flashing his badge round to my ex-wife's home on a Saturday morning with 3 or 4 of his colleagues. That was after the High Court trial.
Right.
That was more in relation to just harassment. But when I look back on Shane Page's actions all the way through it, he would go around to, you know, this is my ex-wife, but that's her family. And I get along really well, you know, because they know what I've been through, they know what we've been through, you know, and they've never ever, they've never really condemn me for anything, you know what I mean? Because they know that I'm trying to do the right thing at all times. And fuck, I got pain right in me. Sorry.
That's okay.
This is just fucking, it's just so hard sometimes.
So you're talking about your ex-wife and her family?
Yeah, I know, but I've got this pain going right through me.
Oh, right.
This happens all the time, though. So, he was coming around with flashlights and everything at night. You know, nobody ever addressed that. It was all part of his dividing and conquering. If you know, that's the way I look at it. It's the guy has been nothing but harassment, criminal harassment. I mean, you say, you know, even when I was in prison and going back and forth to court, he'd actually come down to the police cells and laugh. You know, say, "Oh, you alright, Michael?" Things like that. "Oh, we'll move you to North Shore Police Station." You know, stuff like that. Because I'd never been in trouble with police. Mm-hmm. I'd never, you know what I mean, I've always been a law-abiding citizen till I came to this country and got under ACC. And then I had the disputes with the ACC. And, yeah, and, you know, it's like, I'm a very logical person, but I'm very strong-willed. Mm-hmm. And they left me laying on the floor for years, and then they had the agreements that they had with me, and look, I can go back and forth. There's that many issues, it's unreal, right? Mm-hmm. The main concern for me is the fact that I'm being attacked by police in the back of a police car. I'm being attacked by police in police cells. Mm-hmm. I'm being threatened with an act of war against me by a police detective, right? And declaring it an act of war against me. All these issues were never addressed. When I did go and make police complaints, going right back to, I would say, 2003.
And these are the complaints you've made, formal complaints to the IPCA? 2003,
2004.
Yeah, about the acts you just described.
I went into ACC for I had mediation, and I went into ACC to discuss something. And I was being threatened and intimidated and bullied and abused.
By the ACC people?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went in and made a complaint. The next thing I'm facing 350 restraining orders. What the fuck? That is the type of malicious bastard that Gerard McGreevy is. Mm. And it wasn't done on evidence. It was done on, this is a one-sided affair. It's like, no matter how innocent you are, no matter how much you're trying to abide by the law, this guy was going out to hammer me. I went in there as well another time. I had my son with me. And my son is mentally ill. And, you know, it's like, my son is mentally ill, right? Right. And he can be a handful of times, right? You know? But between me and his mother, we do our best to take care of him as best we can, right? But I had a 2-year-old child, and I sit and I think back on it. and there was a guy called Marty Willerscroft who stood over the top of me. You know, when you go in to talk to somebody, you expect to talk to them like this. Right. Excuse me. But I need to show you this.
It's fine, you keep walking around, that's fine.
Right, but he came right up to me.
Yeah. And is he a police officer? Or
No. He was
okay.
ACC person. He was their security.
Yeah.
And he pushed me.
Right.
And I've got a 2-year-old son that I was laying on the floor reading him a book.
Right.
That is the type. ACC actions and corruption and criminal actions are never addressed by the police. They're just literally allowed to do whatever they like. And this ends up then on a one-sided affair. And it's like, then you're this villain. You know, Gerard McGreevy, after me and him had a dispute, he declared I had a mental illness. There was no mental illness. He declared I had a brain injury. There was no brain injury. He declared I was making threats to kill. I already proved they didn't take place. This guy hides behind fear and violence while he's threatening, intimidating, bullying, abusing, stalking, harassing, slandering, labelling, defaming their victims. That's what this guy does. He's now the Chief Legal Counsel, apparently, of the Ministry of Justice.
Okay.
All my court cases, I had, I'll go forward to the court cases. But I'm in a court for alleged fraud and alleged use of a document. And I've got police there on the first day of the trial intimidating me. And I believe his name was Neil Hallett. Neil Hallett is the same person who was involved in the secret meeting at Parliament on the 20th of June 2007. Now that secret meeting that they had at Parliament, straight after Shane Page declared an act of war against me, no one knows who was there, but they were all there. We can't get the names, we can't get the minutes, we can't get the information. Do you understand what I mean?
I can hear what you're saying, but I can't understand that there wouldn't have been a record of a meeting.
Exactly. So when I applied for, what's my nephew? When I applied for all the information in relation to case notes, telephone records, I was denied.
Is this with the ACC you're talking about?
No, I was applying for it because there was criminal collaboration before and after the fact.
Okay.
The alleged victim, Gerard McGreevy, for the alleged threat to kill,
Right.
that Curry Seymour instigated, that came straight after Shane Page declared an act of war against me, that he literally tried to entrap me. He literally tried to, what would you call it? It was like trying to fit me up from start to finish. And so you have nobody there supporting you. You've got everybody attacking you. Do you understand what I mean?
I can see it from your perspective, yeah.
So you're sitting there, your lawyers aren't protecting you, you're not getting any of the information that's available. You're having, if you actually look at all the investigation reports and you look at the videotapes, when I went to court there was only 1 minute of video recording showed to the court. I was in there for 30 minutes. There was 29 minutes missing. Without my knowledge, without my consent. It was all taken out by police or by the Crown Office. I have no idea. One of them would have done it. But things like that play on you in relation to what your position is at that point in time. It's like you've got no standing. Sorry, but I feel intimidated by the two of you, you know. One's sitting here, one's sitting there. You have no idea what I've had to go through in this case. You have no idea. It's like I fell asleep one night at 7 o'clock. Oh, sorry, by 5 o'clock, and I missed my. They demand that I attend the police station 3 days a week. or 2 days a week, something like that. It was 3 and then it was 2. And then
Is that for as a bail? Were you on bail?
No, it was just, yeah. It was just part
so
of the
court imposed bail, was it?
So I rang him up at 7:05 and I says, "Can I come tomorrow? I'm just after waking up." Because I'd just taken my medication, I took it late,
Mm-hmm.
and I crashed. You know what I mean? My intention was to go to a police station. But this guy then came and picked me up and absolutely drags me from my house with my neck injury and my spinal injury. And the neighbour actually had the, you know, I was looking after my ex-wife's house at the time. And the neighbour actually had to help me up this long drive. The guy throws me in the back of the police car without a seatbelt and drives like a lunatic. That's the type of stuff you have to put up with. Now, when I got arrested back in, the first time I got arrested actually, was after I missed, the courts gave an order for my arrest and I got them to pick me up. Now the cop that attacked me in the back of the police car, at the back of the police house, he then tried to instigate a threat to kill. This was before the threat to kill, 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later. And this was on the same day that they had the secret meeting at Parliament.
Okay, and how were you privy to the secret meeting at Parliament?
Oh, I applied. Someone told me to wait and apply for the information. Because there were certain people involved that were leaving. So a friend of mine said, "Don't apply for the information until 3 or 4 years later." I think I waited 6 years. And David Chaplow was the head of the Ministry of Health at that point in time. And when I got the information, it showed that there was a secret meeting of Parliament on the 20th of June 2007 involving the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Health, the Ombudsman, the Minister, the who else was there? But
that's fine. So how can we as police officers, what can you see that we can do?
Well, we're 10 years on,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've got a civil case that's more like a criminal case. We've got a civil jurisdiction who are committing crimes, who've committed crimes, who have taken it into a criminal jurisdiction. Now they've thrown it back to a civil jurisdiction to where I'm being starved to death of all rights, entitlements, rehabilitation, medical and treatment needs.
That's the ACC you're referring to?
Well, this is the whole point. These are all playing each other's. These all came together at Parliament, or they all came together at Parliament, because I can't treat you if you're representing IPCA. They all came together at Parliament and carried out their collaboration and conspiring, and now they've all disappeared into their own departments. I can't even get a meeting, I can't get an answer to a question, I can't get anything. It's like being a prisoner or hostage and a captive. It's like being in a kidnap situation. It's like being held criminally to blackmail and ransom at all times. My quality of life isn't getting any better.
So from what from my perspective, then you've got an issue with ACC as opposed to the IPCA and the police?
I got an issue with the IPCA in relation to how I was treated by police throughout this entire process.
And you've conveyed that to the IPCA?
Yes.
Okay, and they've completed their...
They haven't done anything.
Investigation or...
They haven't done anything.
Their due process?
They haven't done anything. They never even contacted me. They didn't even contact me. It's just, it's like, I'm just left. I don't get anything from the Ombudsman, I don't get anything from the IPCA, I don't get anything from privacy, I don't get... It's literally a criminally blackmailing holy to ransom situation. I have to go and I have to pay somebody to do all this work for me. It would amount
so
to millions.
what is the outcome you would like out of all this?
What's the outcome I would like out of all this? My freedom from the vigilantes and state terrorists running this country, and the people who are actually running ACC, who are nothing but vigilantes.
Okay, well, just putting that aside, because those people will probably stay. What do you want to get out of it? Because you can't change the head of departments yourself individually. So I'm just trying to get what you want to achieve out of...
I want justice and accountability for what I've been through.
And what's justice to you?
Justice to me is those responsible who've carried out the crimes in this case, held criminally to account. More so Gerard McGreevy, because he was assisted by the police in the first instance.
Okay. All right. There's a possibility you'll never get that. Because if you've made a complaint to the IPCA, if there's no criminality on his part as head of ACC at that time, there isn't going to be no criminal prosecution.
Well, you think it's funny. I don't think.
Well, no. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's funny at all. I'm just saying I can't. It's like you look at
I don't think it's funny at all.
It's not funny.
When it's cost me everything I've got, and it's continuing to cost me everything I've got. So what are you left with?
Acceptance.
You can't accept someone who's done you so much harm and still doing you harm. You can't do that. You can't accept being defrauded for the rest of your life. You're asking me to remain there.
So were you defrauded because the ACC stopped paying you a benefit, or what?
No, I was defrauded. The minute you go on ACC, it costs you 20% of your income straight away. The minute they bring fear and violence into it, it's costing you 20% of your income. The minute they do not address your injuries, it's costing you 20% of your income, plus whatever it costs you on top of that. Everything costs you money. Everything costs you your quality of life. These are all criminal blackmail issues. If you have to take public-private criminal prosecutions, which is exactly how the entire system works, it's going to cost you money.
Yep.
But this is how it's all set up.
Okay.
But they're not being done for the criminal blackmail unless I get the prosecution to begin with. I can't get an inquiry because they won't give me an inquiry. I can't get a Royal Commission of Inquiry because I haven't got the time, the energy, or the physical being to be able to go out there and get 400, 500,000 signatures. It's not going to happen. So what am I left with? I'm left with everybody playing each other, and I'm stuck in a catch-22 at all times. And in that catch-22, it's costing me my entire quality of life.
All right. Well, from what you're telling me, I can't see that there's anything that me as a police officer can do to progress your case of wanting a criminal prosecution against members of the ACC.
What about the police? What about their actions? If you look at the actual investigation of the entire case, it's been a one-sided affair. He looks familiar. I don't know why, but he does.
Oh, there's a movie star who looks very, very similar to him. I've probably seen him on the big screen. Yeah.
I have no idea. Look, at the end of the day, there's no investigations into anything. How can you declare an act of war against the victim and everything that's taken place would support that?
Okay.
How can you say that? How can you say that there's no criminal charges? Shane Page wrote an email just before that. Michael never crosses the line. Which I don't. I don't have to cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
If all the evidence supports me, why do I need to cross the line? Right? So, why is he then instigating a threat to kill a criminal? Because that's what Gerard McGreevy is. He's a smart, two-bit lawyer who manipulates the entire rule of law.
Okay. So just to confirm that you have written to the IPCA before, so they will have a record, but you're not satisfied with their response. So I can convey that to the IPCA on your behalf.
Come here. I'm a lay person,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not trained to be a lawyer. I'm not trained to be working in an office and all the rest of it. Typing is, I'm dyslexic.
Yes.
Right. So here I am, that if I don't pay somebody to do all this work, which will cost me millions, I'm never going to get justice and accountability. But I know for a fact, if I had all the facts on the table and I had the right people behind me, there's not one of them would be found not guilty. They'd all be found guilty for what they've done in this case and how they've managed it and how they've handled it. That much I do know.
Okay.
There's more than enough evidence to prove their guilt. And there's more than enough evidence of how they use fear and violence to actually turn themselves into victims. The problem is that the police are not collecting the information of who's actually instigating all the violence and all the abuse and all the threats and all the harassment. Like, let's go to, here's another thing. let's go to
So I don't want to cut it short, but we're sort of going around in a circle.
the Ashburton tragedy.
Yeah.
Who sent the cops to my home and why?
Well, I can't answer that.
Well, you're talking about
that.
professional conduct here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not professional conduct. That's vigilantism. Why would you send the cops to my home after a serious tragedy
Mm-hmm.
to an injured victim who has committed no crime? Why would you be trying to threaten and intimidate the victim? Once again, more unprofessional conduct. But yet, when I try to get the name of the person or persons involved in who made these decisions, I can't get it.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of, under the Official Information Act and the Privacy Act, there's all sorts of different little reasons, withholding reasons. And I'm sure the police would have complied with any requests that you have sent them under those two acts.
So what, driving around a dead-end street 30 times a day after that? Is that professional conduct as well?
Well, I'm not privy to those circumstances.
You're not privy to any of this. You see, this is the whole point.
Yeah.
No matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter what I complain about, and complaining is a long job. I don't want to have to complain. I just want my life out of harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not out of harm's way. It's in harm's way all the time. Because this conflict has just continued on and on and on.
Okay. Well, what I suggest to do, if you're not happy with the, I can, as I said, I can write to the IPCA on your behalf, an email, and just so that you have complained on several occasions before and you've had no contact and you'd appreciate some sort of response.
17 years of complaints and then another 10 years of complaints. Where does it leave you? You've got everybody who's shut up shop, and ACC literally wants to spoon feed you shit and call it rehabilitation. There is no rehabilitation. There's no rehabilitation plan. There's no adhering to the law or the legislation.
Okay.
And the police are the people who help them do that.
All right.
You don't see that?
Well, from what you've told me, no, I can't see that, no. No, honestly. Yeah.
So what are you saying? I wasted my time? Or you wasted your time?
Well, I'm saying if you do have what you've explained to me is
so you don't want to address the historical issues that actually exist, that actually created where I am today. That the IPCA failed to address for all this time. So in other words, anybody can commit any crime they like against me, and if it doesn't get addressed at that point in time, it disappears. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Well, what are you telling me then?
I'm not telling you anything, I've been listening to you.
You've been listening to me.
But I'm saying what, I've asked you how I can help you and you haven't given me a pretty, you haven't given me an outline, so I'm just saying, look,
you're asking me how, you're the police who are meant to be serving and protecting. How
Yes.
was I ever served and protected by the police?
With regards to what? You've gone
I
through
was
17
never served
years.
and protected at any point in time because I was under ACC.
Okay.
It's a one-sided affair to where the police take the sides of those at the helm and they attack the victims. Do you know how many victims there is in this country under ACC? How many sides do the police take over victims under ACC? They never take any sides. They take the sides of those in positions of power.
Alright.
And they look after those in positions of power. And they don't look after any of the victims.
Well, what I would suggest, if you do have, you obviously do seem to still have issues with regards to it, summarise it in an email, you can send that through to the IPCA, if that's what you want, or the ACC must have a complaints process.
You said you liaise with the IPCA.
I did.
I just don't understand how you liaise. Why has the IPCA never come to see me in 17 years?
Well, they don't generally come.
Right. You can see from that interview yesterday, that meeting I had with the liaison police officers of the IPCA in relation to the complaints that I was trying to make about police and all the incidences that happened over the last 10 years, more so over the last 14, 15 years. But the active war action is a very serious issue, and all the actions that took place, the malicious criminal prosecutions, the attacks in the back of a police car, the attacks in the police cells, the abuse, the threats, the intimidation, the violence, even of judges, ombudsmen, MPs, ministers, you know, everybody turning a blind eye to exactly what's going on in this case. But the most serious point of yesterday was the fact that he said, I'll just have to accept what's been done to my life. And his attitude is ACC is going to remain the same. But we're talking about police professional conduct here. Now, the Ashburton tragedy where people were killed in a Dole office, a Winds office, and coming to my home and bringing their violence to my home. This is all part and parcel of their active war actions and their threats and intimidation and everything else. Now, for the last 3 years, I've literally been held criminally to blackmail, ransom. Now, no matter which way you look at this case, it's criminal blackmail. Whether you're told to take public-private criminal prosecutions, as I was advised to do, it's going to cost millions to put every last one of these motherfuckers behind bars where they belong. One doctor commits suicide. A lot had to do with how ACC treated him and how they treated my case. And the pressure he felt and the intimidation and the threats that he felt. Whether there was other issues to that is of no relevance to me. I know for a fact that he was put under a lot of pressure because of my case. And I know that he didn't want to testify in a court of law. And he was pretty frightened of it. So, yeah, so that plays on my mind all the time. But the fact that police are instigating threats to kill themselves and criminally collaborating with Crown and Government officials, ministers, ombudsmen, Crown lawyers, ACC top lawyers, and then for an IPCA, well, liaison to the IPCA, thinking it's funny that I'm being harassed and criminally harassed by cops and everything else, and who literally is telling me that I just have to accept this is it, that I have to remain their prisoner, their hostage, their captive in a kidnap situation, in a criminally blackmailing situation at all times. And there's no regard for the law or the legislation of any kind. There's no lawful forums for addressing the crimes that they've committed against me. They literally want to spoon feed me shit. There's no quality of life with it. There's no rehabilitation. There's no medical and treatment needs. There's nothing. There's no investigations into my injuries. There's no, more so, there's no investigation into the injuries they caused me and then left me with post-traumatic stress on top of everything else. And left me with my neck injury that's more, well, it's exacerbated from what it was before. And it's like sometimes I'll turn my head and I'll end up on the floor. That's how bad it is. But the energy, the effort, the fatigue, nobody's addressing it. You know, it's like my ACC after I've asked him to. I went to my GP to get a meeting with ACC because ACC keeps refusing to give me a meeting. And the Ombudsman, Human Rights Commission, I mean, there's nobody come forward. This is the first meeting I've had for 10 years. And so for 10 years, he took 20 minutes out of his fucking day to come and see me and give me this shit. Well, I'm just going to have to accept what is? No. As I said to him yesterday, there's no way that I'm going to accept being their prisoner, their hostage, their captive, held criminally to blackmail and ransom in what I class as the biggest criminally blackmailing, holding to ransom situation that any victim could ever find themselves in for the rest of my life. And be spoon-fed shit. While these animals have literally moved to the one side and are going up the ladder, and they're all the same people involved in this corruption and criminality. Right? There's no efforts for an inquiry. There's no efforts for a Royal Commission of Inquiry. There's no efforts of any kind to address my injuries. So, and the police who were involved, who were carrying out all the vigilantism on behalf of those in power, literally get to walk free. So, what I'm actually showing everybody in this country, and the world, is that New Zealand does not protect society. Police do not protect and serve society. They serve and protect those in positions of power, and they enable them to get away with crimes. When they lose control, it's the police who help them get back that control. And to get back that control, they used fear and violence to literally control this entire outcome and my life, in my case, for the past, what, 17 years in total, but the past 11 years, more so. So you've got all these other issues that he didn't want to listen to anything I've had to say. He's trying to pass the buck. They're all trying to pass the buck between each other, but yet it's all proven that they're all involved in a criminal collaboration, a conspiring situation over the meeting held at Parliament on the 20th of June 2007. But the attitude yesterday, I mean, they say, you know, when they first appeared, it just felt like intimidation more than anything else, because it wasn't one-on-one. It was like 2-on-1, right? And that's just a form of intimidation, whether it's because of the history of this case and their violence and trying to make out to society that I'm this big bad person. But to them, they're trying to protect themselves. Well, that's the way they look at it. The point is that I haven't brought violence into this case. They've brought all the violence into this case. They're just threatening and intimidating in everything they do. There's no one-on-one. There's no you're the victim, because to them I'm not the victim. But their attitude is you just have to accept that we've committed all these crimes against you and we're not going to do anything about it. And that's the bottom line. So yeah, it's a very, very serious, very dangerous situation to be in, because I'm not going to accept being under the controls of these vigilantes and these state terrorists, and I'm not going to have ministers making it personal with me, cops making it personal with me, IPC or anybody else. And then they repealed the laws of criminal provocation that enables them to literally provoke and criminally provoke in any way, shape and form they like. And they want to hide all their crimes behind this Nazi-run ACC class system legislation that they have in place, that there's no lawful forms for addressing their crimes. You can only address the legislation, and the legislation is a base load of shite anyway. But being told by the IPCA that I have to accept what is, no. I don't have to accept that they committed all these crimes against me, and I don't have to take it laying down. I think somebody needs to realise that this was driven to violence for this complete control of my life, and it's been driven to last resort because that's how these people play their games. And to them it's a game. To me it's my life. As yesterday, as you seen, he thinks it's funny the minute I open my mouth about any issue, but not willing to do any investigations, not willing to address all the corruption and criminality. I mean, you see, the IPCA haven't come to address any complaint in over 10 years. And that says it all as to how the IPCA work, because every department in New Zealand does their own internal investigations. They all investigate themselves, and they're the biggest gang of corrupt bastards you'll ever come across. Because there's no impartiality to those investigations. They're just organised crime within organised crime within organised crime. And it's all to protect their own careers, their own reputations, their own characters and everything else. What I find astounding is you have this case with Todd Barkley in relation to him tape recording his colleague, and then the whole big deal about it, and the media are all over it. His case is probably a drip from a water tap in comparison to what's going on in my case. Because every minister, Prime Minister, MP involved in this case, every CEO, every cop, every judge, every ombudsman, they're all involved in this criminal blackmail, holding to ransom action. And everything is aimed at costing you everything you have. It's all criminal blackmail under Section B of the Crimes Act. Their actions are all misfeasance in public office, but they're not taking any charges. When they suspend your entitlements and your rights for years at a time, illegally and unlawfully, in my case it was with criminal intent, but they've taken out the criminal intent and refused to do any investigations into it. This is the whole situation. I mean, you see, like, you've got the likes of Shane Page, who declared it the act of war against me. You know, the harassment of that guy for the last 10 years, you know, it's few and far between, but it's enough to cause me a lot of aggravation and a lot of hassle. And it's like trying to get in your face and trying to provoke you even more. Even at shopping malls, when I go to meet my daughter at the shopping mall once, and I find it really hard to believe that he turns up the one day that I go shopping, first time in years, and Shane Page turns up. Then he turns up a week later. And both times he tried to get into my face. And that's the type of behaviour you get from Shane Page. And he's the one who declared this the act of war against me. So why he was allowed to be able to get away with all this is beyond me. It's but these people not listening. It's ridiculous that no one is actually doing any investigations. You get the Ombudsman shut up shop, you get the Crown Law Office shut up shop, Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Health won't hand over any more information that was requested. You get privacy issues that nobody's doing anything. The Privacy Commission does nothing. Health and Disability Commission does nothing. Irish government, the British government do nothing in relation to how a person is actually held in this situation. But their attitude is your injuries are permanent without telling you exactly what's caused your injuries, and how to best address them. You know, I could sit here and I could have 4 beers and be a normal person, right? Probably not fit to go to work, but I'm able to be just relaxed and mostly pain-free. But I could take medication that doesn't do as good a job. So like there's elements that you can have a normal life, but you can't have a normal life because you're not overseen by the proper people. And you don't have the proper support, help, assistance in place. Because this organisation is all about criminally holding to ransom and spoon feeding you shit and expecting you to pay for all those medical and treatment needs. All my medical notes, all my medical files disappearing. All my ACC files being destroyed. These are all part and parcel of this act of war mentality and sabotaging my entire case, my entire life. And yeah, it would cost me millions. So this case is literally a Mexican standoff, stagnant, stalemate, criminally blackmailing, holding to ransom situation. And it's all been done with misfeasance in public office. And the main terrorist involved in this is Gerard McGreevy, who now is the Deputy Secretary of the Ministry of Justice. And I don't know if he's moved from that position. He's taken all this shit off the internet, so, you know, it's like he's disappeared as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Out of sight, out of fucking mind, as they say. But he's still involved in the middle of this. And he's still the biggest terrorist of them all. And Mike Heron, he became the Solicitor General. Ailsa Duffy, who did a half-baked QC investigation report before all this shit took off, she became judge. I mean, he said, like, Beverly Waken, the Ombudsman who was involved in the secret meeting of Parliament, she got a knighthood. So it appears to me that everybody involved in this case who has done me harm, done me damage, who has attacked me, has been promoted up the ladder. That's their compensation, pay rises and everything else. And this is all factual evidence. It's like, so I am literally now singled out, isolated, alienated, and they want me to give them a year's medical certificate so they can spoon feed me shit and starve me of all my rights, entitlements, rehabilitation, medical treatment needs when it suits their purpose. So, literally, this shows you that the IPCA do not do their job. And the police are literally, you just have to accept the crimes that we've committed against you, no problem. I don't know anybody who would accept having crimes committed against them, being abused, threatened, intimidated, bullied, harassed, criminally harassed, state criminal kidnapped, fitted up for crimes they didn't commit, through criminal collaboration and conspiring. I don't know anybody who would accept being a prisoner of anybody, let alone a country, and having all this done against them. And accepting, well, this is the way it is. It's not the way it is. It's the way they made it. And I won't be accepting it until my life is out of harm's way and out of the hands of these terrorists, these vigilantes, these malicious criminals, these abusive, violent criminals. And that's the bottom line. As I said to him yesterday just before he left, I said, I don't know where this is going to end up. But I know where they've driven it to. And I know where they are driving it to. And I know where they're continuing to drive it to. And I won't be letting it go. And I won't be backing down. And I won't be taking it laying down. I want justice and I want accountability and I want it fucking now. That's my standing on the matter. So anyway, I'll put this onto the back of the other video that I had with the police interview. And you can all get a bit of insight to exactly the shite that victims have to put up with in this country. And they call it serving and protecting. And they call it rehabilitation. Fucking joke shop. So what you have is a country run by organised criminals. And they want to get away with murder literally. Well, this is one case they're not getting away with it. Okay, thank you people.